Welcome, folks, back to Dominant Mets Nation. And today, unfortunately, it seems like it may be the beginning of the end for Mr. Pete Alonso. Honestly, I've been sounding the alarm on Mr. Pete Alonso since before this season. I projected. I'm like, you know what? Pete has not really been the Pete ever since he got hit last year. The second half of the season last year, Pete just sank along with the team. June on was horrific. Pete has not been the same. Last year, beginning of last year, he signed on with Scott Boras, indicating that he wants to be paid a massive amount of money. So, from the beginning on this season, David Stearns comes in. I said to myself automatically, Pete Alonso is not a David Stearns guy. He's just not. He's not. But you know what? At the end of the day, if Pete Alonso has massive success and produces, you know what? The money will come. The money will come. You know, I said that it was going to be possible that Pete Alonso may be dropped in a lineup. And it seems like today was the day that David Stearns and the organization, because I wholeheartedly believe this decision came on up from David Stearns and that front office. And I'll tell you, I have my opinions. We're gonna go over them because this was strategic, folks. This was strategic. Pete Alonso was struggling for a heck of a long time. You wait till a couple of days after the trade deadline to strategically move him to the fifth spot. All right. So Pete Alonso was moved to the fifth spot, and what surprised me most was how the man reacted. In the post-game show, they said, "Hey, Pete, your numbers haven't been what they've been in the past. What do you think? How can you explain your numbers dropped?" And Pete basically responded with, "I'm happy with my production. I'm an all-star this year. I'm excited for the second half of the year." And honestly, I was stunned. If he would have responded like, "You know what? This is not a typical season. I'm going to put in the work every single day to put that production that you all expect." You know what? I wanted a statement like that. A statement that shows me I will work harder. The numbers will get better. But for him to be complacent, for him to actually try to sell the fans like we're stupid, like we think this is a typical Pete Alonso season, a typical guy thinking he's going to make $200 million plus. Pete Alonso this year is not even hitting over 200 with runners in scoring positions. And that's where you pay the players. You play these players. Players are money players when they produce runs, when they drive in runs. This year, like I mentioned, he's hitting under 200 with runners in scoring position. His OPS is under 800, 790 to be exact. His slugging is 460, well under his career averages in both categories. I mean, it is extremely unacceptable. He has taken no accountability. And for him to reference All-Star, that is a slap in the face to Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, even if you want to look at guys like Mark Vientos and Francisco Alvarez, even though Francisco Alvarez didn't play enough. I mean, you had other guys on the team who deserved Nimmo and Lindor to be exact. And to just say that I'm an all-star, I'm having a good season, you're the worst damn all-star out of both teams. You stunk. You stunk compared to the other all-stars. And the pathetic performance that you had in the home run derby, I mean, there is no explaining that. I mean, I turned off the home run derby within like 15 minutes of the whole thing. Within 15 minutes, after Pete had that putrid performance, I'm like, oh, well, got to do a video. This is horrible. And I couldn't even watch a majority of the home run derby because Pete was out. And the funny thing is, Pete was the favorite. He was the odds-on betting favorite to win. And it's just so sad that Pete kind of strong arm MOB by saying, hey, if you elect me to be an all-star, I'll be in the home run derby. And then you go ahead and you use that all-star election and to try to say you're having a good season, and now at the end of the year, you're going to try to use that all-star notch to get more money. That is so sad. That is so sad. I mean, I could see Boras saying, hey, you know what? If you're an all-star, it'll be an extra notch in your belt. It'll help you get more money. I can see Boras from a strategic vantage saying, hey, Pete, it's a good thing. But for Pete to go out in an interview to express that, to kind of like swindle the fans, no, unacceptable. The fans are a lot smarter than that. And like I said, this seemingly is the beginning of the end. Now, this is after the trade deadline, and Pete has moved down in the lineup. Pete, I believe they said he hasn't hit past fourth since 2020, something like that. So Pete, it's more or less, it's a very big pride thing. Pete sees himself as one of the best home run hitters in all of baseball, and he's leaning very heavily into home runs. In fact, he said that he's on pace to hit 40 home runs. I mean, when I did the calculations, I got 35 at most. 40 home runs? You're not, Pete. You're not. You're not. I mean, Lindor has more RBIs than you. Nimmo has more RBIs than you. Martinez almost has more RBIs than you. So, I mean, in terms of even driving in runs, it is just you're in such a sad predicament right now. And I know there's a lot of fans that still love Pete. Now, he's losing fans by the second. But when he opens his mouth and when he has these poor performances, he's letting a lot of fans down. So I know in the beginning of the season, it was blasphemy to essentially knock Mr. Pete Alonso, but Pete is not meshing with this team. You're seeing a lot of times that we are winning in spite of the polar bear. We're winning in spite of the polar bear. And I got to give the squirrel credit because he's actually turning his game up. We see that. But it's an extremely upsetting situation, and the reaction is what's getting me. And you know what? Let me know. What do you think about that? What do you think about Pete's reaction? What do you think about the Mets dropping him to fifth? I think dropping him to fifth right now is very strategic, and I'll tell you why. After the trade deadline, what's the worst that can happen? Right now, Pete, it's his best interest to produce, no matter where he is in the lineup. Now, he was hurting the Mets. I can't tell you how many times Pete was chasing that ball low and outside, low in the dirt. I mean, the discipline or undiscipline that this man has showed, you figure he would, as his career developed, he would become more disciplined. But this year, he has been less disciplined. And his advanced stats, and I know years ago you would want to compare his advanced stats to hitters like Aaron Judge, but it's not even close. It's laughable. It's laughable. He's only elite in one category at from what I've seen. Well, actually, he's picked up his numbers in the last recently, but bat speed is the only thing that he's really elite in. And I mean, barrel percentage, slugging, he's in the 78th percentile, and it's expected WOBA. But everything else is not good. Everything else is really not good. And in categories like average exit velocity, you're in the freaking 49th percentile. You're the goddamn polar bear. You're supposed to be one of the strongest hitters in baseball, and your average exit velocity is less than the average player. You're actually worse than the average player in average exit velocity. You are hitting the ball less hard than the average player. Wow, that is actually stunning. Stunning. Your chase percentage is in the 59% percentile. Your whiff percentage is in the 56th. Your K percentage is in the 50th. I mean, this is an undisciplined hitter going into his free agent season. I mean, to be fair, and this is what I've been thinking, I'm like, does he feel the writing is on the wall? Does he feel so much that he is not a David Stearns guy, that this is drastically affecting his approach? Is that the key? Is that the issue? Or has he put so much goddamn pressure on himself to earn that $200 million that he is just not even close to doing it? So there could be many variables for why Pete Alonso is not elevating his game. But at the end of the day, Mets fans want to see results. As I say, if you want you to be paid like a superstar, you have to produce like a superstar. When your team is not hitting, when your team is slumping, you have to consistently get hits, consistently get that big hit. And so many times, how many times have we seen in the first inning, and this is why I think it was strategic to put him down to 5, how many times have we seen runners, two men on, either 1 or 2 outs, Pete Alonso up, either he grounds it to a double play, he hits a weak pop-up, or he finds some way to make an unproductive out or just get out of the inning. So many times I have circled in my scorecard, big at bat, fail. Big at bat, fail. So many. And obviously with his numbers being under 200, under 200 with runners in scoring position, he has been notorious. And just so you know, league average, so the average hitter hits 244. From what I saw recently, they hit 244 with the runners in scoring position. And that's not a good hitter. That's a league average hitter. So he is well below league average. Imagine if he was hitting league average. Imagine that. Because we're getting the guys on base, we're getting the runners. He's got Nimmo, he's got Lindor hitting in front of him. He's got guys who essentially get on base, who get hits. We should have so much more production, and not to mention JD Martinez is hitting in front of him as well. He has left small villages, small islands on base. He is not responding in the correct ways on the field, and now he's not responding in the correct ways off the field. It's sad to say, but Mr. Pete Alonso, right now, this may be spelling the beginning of the end for you being a Met. And we're going to go back. This happened after the trade deadline. He can't cause any animosity in the clubhouse. He can't cause any shockwaves. He can't demand a trade. Your leverage right now is to go on the field, no matter where we put you in the lineup, and produce. Produce. You can't work the scenes. Right now, go produce. That's it. Suck it up. Suck it up. That's it. That's it. Team first. And what I like about David Stearns is he doesn't give a damn who you are. Doesn't give a damn if you're Pete Alonso. Doesn't give a damn if you want to make $200 million. Doesn't matter if he acquired these arms in the beginning of the year. Doesn't matter. It is all about production. And each of these guys has a limited time to produce. And the guys who do produce are the ones who play. Sean Manaea today, freaking phenomenal. Last start, 11 strikeouts. This start, 10 strikeouts. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. He's going long into games. He's striking out a lot of guys. He is really elevating his game right now, really elevating his stuff, and I love to see it. I love to see it. And you got to give David Stearns credit because he is finding the arms. He's finding the arms. Paul Blackburn a couple of days ago on Friday night, and it really seems like on Friday night, the beginning, Monday to Friday, it's like the Mets go on an upward trajectory. Then after Friday, Saturday and Sunday, especially the last couple of weekends, we've been really sinking down. But what I've learned with this team thus far is don't get too low. Don't get too low because they're finding ways to overcome. They are finding ways to win. Whether it's the Squirrel coming through, whether it's Manaea, Severino, guys in the in the bullpen today, Stanek, Edwin Diaz, although they had a huge lead. And that's actually what you love to see. You love to see Manaya, the starter, go 7, Stanek come in the 8th, the 9th Diaz. That is picture perfect. The Mets score 6 runs. The other team's not even close. This is, yeah, easy. Pete Alonso's batting 5th. Okay, we've already seized on the opportunity to get a win with Pete Alonso out of the cleanup hole. So we're going to see how this experiment works. But thus far, knocking the polar bear down 1 peg, we are 1-0. 1-0. So, folks, if you could subscribe. New York Mets fans, you know what to do. Subscribe, I will speak to you very soon. I know I got some great comments that I'm excited to read, especially on this topic. But we will see what will come soon with this Pete Alonso saga. See you soon. Have a great night.